Tim Burton, an expressionistic superstar. Horror, shadow, strangeness in everything he does. Is his contribution of sole importance though? What is the rest of the production crew? Well, in this video I will discuss Burton's Sleepy Hollow, the influence and effects of German expressionism within, as well as the collaborative effort between Burton, Lubetzky, and Lebenson, and his contribution to the film's style. Sleepy Hollow follows Ichabod Crane, an uptight city detective assigned to investigate a Dutch village downriver, and a series of supernatural beheadings therein. The film is tense and disturbing in its visual imagery, exhibiting many of the same stylistic choices and visual designs as Burton's other films, such as Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. This style and the choices inherent to it take their cue from a mixture of German expressionism and Tim Burton's contemporary style. In discussing the collaborative effect, one must question the degree to which Burton contributed as the auteur of the film. Specifically, how did he direct the cinematographer and editor to instill the style, techniques, and feel of a German expressionist film? This involves deconstructing Burton's style and German expressionism as a whole. Burton's style, as described by Brahma, is gothic, fantastical, with touches of whimsy and surrealism. It is used to great effect in the thematic exploration of fear, madness, and the uncanny. An example of this is the film Sweeney Todd. This film utilized various editing techniques, including head-on, tail-off, shot-reverse shot, and point-of-view cuts to create an uncomfortable and distorted feeling. It also utilizes low-key lighting to create a tense and dark mood, as do Tim Burton's films do in general. As for German expressionism as a movement, it is incredibly formalistic. It distorts and disturbs and manipulates the viewer with strange and uncomfortable choices, primarily in set design, cinematography, color and lighting, and costume design. It is a style characterized by physical exaggeration and as portrayed in Burton's films as madness and fear. Examples of the style date back to films such as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, Metropolis, and M. Sleepy Hollow deeply utilizes all of the above stylistic choices, although it does do so more from the style of Nosferatu and M in their heavier focus on costume design, shadows, and sound design, than it does the distorted set design evident in Caligari. This is visible in the various dream sequences throughout and their unlinked and confusing visuals and overly constructed lighting, extreme lights and darks, and distorted camera work. This camera work prominently displays the style of cinematography Emanuel Lubezki, which is used heavily to express Burton's directional vision. One example, as Bagazada discusses, is Lubezki's use of this design observer and the placement of the camera as a placeholder of the audience themselves. This allows the director's vision to appeal directly to the audience as if they are truly there and simply viewing the events themselves. Lubezki's camera also displayed fluid, humanistic improvised movements. This further exasperates the design effect. He also uses various other cinematic techniques such as alternating wide shots and close-ups to induce claustrophobia. This is a classic effect in German expressionism. The stylistic choice also include natural or close as practical lighting. For example, the chiaroscuro effect is utilized to significant effect. The various color choices being used is to deeply contrast brights and darks and black and white. This is evident in the placement of lighting outside the windows in this interrogation scene, creating a particularly eerie lightscape reminiscent of classic German expressionism. The meat of expressionism lays also in the set design, and this is still very evident throughout. Scenes and imagery such as the Tree of the Dead forced perspectives as with the scenes within and out of the windmill, and the mise-en-scene and character design within the witch's cave. There is also a great deal of satanic symbolism throughout, with the symbols etched into the ground throughout, such as underneath Crane's bed. The editing also performs its own role in style. In fact, the editor of Sleepy Hollow, Lebenson, has discussed the freedom he has felt in his work and the relative lack of oversight from Burton. The reverse side of this is, of course, Burton's apparent lack of clarity and difficulty in understanding his vision on occasion. In fact, a lot of what Burton envisions is provided in sketches to his crew. Lebenson also further discusses his process, that is, to start cutting early, constantly revisiting, and often simply relying on the input of directorial vision. Some of this vision and editing is shown in certain matte pasted scenes, the background being pasted over the foreground. This creates a visible and distorted, almost cartoonish effect. This expressionistic visual almost places the effect as more important than the image itself, in fact creating a contrast of reason and unreality disturbing in its own right. Sound design remains a vital process of editing and furthers the disturbing, unclear nature of Sleepy Hollow. The film uses sound in a way that values expressionistic impact, while also being immensely diegetic. This is exemplified in sequences such as the frogs in the distance croaking Ichabod's name, the sound of fire crackling off the burning skull, the headless horseman slicing, and his horse galloping. All of these introduce a disturbing yet physically and diegetically accurate feel to the events. We must then ask, how does all of this fit together as a collaborative effort? Both Lubezeski and Lebezlon have discussed the trust in the process between them and Burton, especially as repeat collaborators. This repeating process is particularly important as it allows them to gain a shorthand of each other's work and style and build an ability to move more easily and efficiently process. This particularly helps when it comes to something as stylistic as German expressionism because there is such a broad series of methods that bring it to life. Mise-en-scene, cinematography, lighting, pacing, costume design, and so on. In collaborating to bring all of these together, the production crew of Sleepy Hollow have modeled classic German expressionism in a relatively contemporary way, modernizing chiaroscuro, contrast extremes, and the claustrophobic combination of camera work techniques. It is the very definition of distorted and disturbing, and edited in such a way as to exhibit these features. Only with each of the three having brought the other's visions into their own historically affected film styles was Sleepy Hollow, a classic expressionist horror film, able to be brought to light and not solely by Tim Burton.